5, 4, 3. Well, hello, everybody. We're on our final run. A little bit of the behind the scenes here of what's been going on for the last however many hours.
What has been going on?
During the celebration of Harry Chapin's 75th birthday. And along with myself, we've got Greg D. Respino. I knew I was going to mess it up.
There you go, brother.
And Mike Grayeb. And just real briefly, I've been acting the host for the last half of the day, as well as doing some Facebook things and social media things. Greg has been behind the scenes, just setting up the guests and getting them ready, prepared.
Yeah, kind of like the stage manager in the digital world. Yeah,
there you go.
And push the button.
And then Mike has literally been pushing the buttons.
There you go.
Switching
no, that's not true.
around.
That's not true, Bill. I've just been pushing your buttons.
Well, that's for sure.
Hey, you're not allowed to do that anymore. You get fired from your job. Oh, that's right. You don't get paid.
Sure.
Yeah, right. Anyways, we wanted to kind of wrap it up. There was absolutely a lot of other people behind the scenes beyond the three of us as well. But as we were kind of coming to the end of the day, we wanted to just
It's the old man over my shoulder.
Hi, everybody. Yep. But we also want to talk a little bit with Greg specifically, and tell folks a little bit about your backstory, about how you got involved with this whole crazy Chapin thing.
Wow. So
that was a loaded question.
And I have a gun, so careful. No guns. In 1975 or 76, my uncle, my mom's younger brother, gave me a cassette of Harry's music because I was looking to expand my music listening past AM music radio. And so I got a Johnny Cash cassette and a Harry Chapin cassette, which he made from his record albums. And the Harry Chapin cassette was probably almost the most used cassette I had. I listened to it over and over again. I delivered my newspapers. And during the process of delivering my newspapers, learned all the songs. It was really easy to sing with a guy who could tell a story, who knew things that sounded familiar and could express them in relatively simple terms. And I found that very exciting and comforting. And they weren't the Beatles, who seemed so totally inaccessible. And of course, they weren't even a band by that time. They were already not a band. So, and when Harry came to play in my area in New York City on Staten Island in 1978, October of 78, a bunch of us kids went and bought tickets. Now, I was a senior in high school by that time. And we all went up to the college gym in the neighborhood and went to see the show. And when we got there, it was an oversold, underseated show. And so people were standing around trying to figure out how to, watch the show. And the kids that were running it from the college said, you kids, go down front, sit in the front row, sit in front of the front row on the floor. Wow. Okay. And we had the best seats. No kidding, Bill. We had the best seats in the house. I was less than 10 feet from Harry. I sat right dead center. I had a little cassette radio in my lap. I recorded the concert on a cassette, which is now lost to the ether. But it was that moment when I realized that there's a guy here who can touch everybody with the same song. And it wasn't just Cat's Cradle and Taxi, that he did a full-blown 3-hour plus show, ended up, and I heard a couple of your guests relate to the same thing, went out to the lobby after the show and spent almost equally as much time out in the lobby, signing everything from ticket stubs to elbows to this T-shirt that's behind me, that program that I got at the show. So they both have his signature on it. Matter of fact, the program has his, I'll reach back and grab it. The program has his personalization on it.
Wow. Nice.
So, he's been there for a while. And I asked really what it involves. How do I get involved? What do I do? And the paraphrase over the long term of my relationship with Harry is that you do something when you can with what you have, and try not to do it before then, because you're coming as incomplete. You're not bringing your whole self. You're distracted by other things. You want to come and help out? Great. Make sure it's when you can do your best work. You can bring your whole self. You can have as much fun and bring the passion of what you know as yourself to the place that you're coming to be a volunteer and help out. So it was 15 years. between that conversation and when I walked into the offices of World Hunger Year in New York City and said, I'd like to help out. And
wow, that is a great story.
That's
and,
when they put me to work. And it's 25 years later after that. So it's almost 40 years altogether.
But your point about being ready and able to do it, we don't hear that message a whole lot, but he really did talk about that. And it's so true that, we all get points in time where, this is just not a good time for me. Yeah. And you really do have to be ready.
And you don't have a couple of extra bucks in your pocket, and you don't have this, and maybe it's not the right time to volunteer. But I found over the course of my 25-year plus relationship with World Hunger Year that it really is about, if not now, when.
Right.
And there were many instances along the course of that, from the meeting in 1978 with Harry to today, when I'm finishing an event which I never thought I would be part of, because our friend Mike Grayeb, who's sitting in the other corner, making this happen, had the desire and the passion and the idea that he could make this work. Even though when he said to me, I'm really kind of flying by the seat of my pants here, I wondered if you could come and help me out. And I thought, all right, if you're in, I'm in. Why not? How bad could it be? Well, that was kind of dumb.
You should have known. That's his answer to everything.
When you see my phone number show up, you're supposed to run.
Well, I was in Washington, D.C. having fun, and why couldn't I share the fun if you were calling me on the phone? Hey, Mike, I'm having a great time in D.C. What are you doing? So it's much more about, for me, keeping the message alive, making sure people know that what we do is not that hard, but is super, super important. Every little bit helps. They used to say to the kids when they were doing the fundraiser called Hungerthon that World Hunger Year, now WhyHunger, does every year, that we fill every cup and bowl with what we have, but no dollar amount to donate is too small. And kids would send in their pennies. They would send in their piggy bank money. And we would get these envelopes with coins in them, thinking, what the heck? And it's a note from a little kid who said, I heard a song and this man did this thing, and I thought I should get involved because somebody else needs it more than I do. And that's coming from coming from a little kid.
Yep.
I mean, really?
Yeah. Yeah. No.
I mean, you have to have that, Bill. You have to have the reason why that you got drawn in. It wasn't just a song that was on the radio.
No. But I mean, I think it's sort of that, hook or lure that kind of starts you out there. But then Harry did a great job. I saw him twice. And, but he had that great lure to pull you in, but then he snag you and he'd reel you in. And it was all the stuff after the concert that usually sunk the hook, right?
Yeah, as you know from the story that I just told, that sealed the deal for me. I mean, it was already a fan, and as we all know, fan is short for fanatic, and he was a fanatic. Totally. And we end up being a fanatic in his corner, even if he was still here, but he's not. And more importantly, everyone else who was around him at the time, his brothers, his family, his band, the people that were affected by his music, all today who are still around are still actively pursuing the final result of his dream. And while it sounds next to impossible, and we know that it is really hard, we're all still making our good effort, fighting the good fight.
Well, and one of the things that I'd love to ask Mike, you never did actually see him live, right?
No, I never saw Harry live. But, my sister was, I have one sister and three brothers. My sister, Kathy, had seen him a couple of times in concert in Connecticut, and she had tickets to go see him about 2 weeks after the day that he passed. And, I mentioned at the beginning of the day today, I would every Friday night at 9:30 in Waterbury, Connecticut, on WWCO radio, there was a DJ named the Mad Hatter. And actually at 9 o'clock every Friday night, straight up, he would say he'd play Stairway to Heaven by Led Zeppelin. And then at 9:30, he'd go to the Greatest Stories live album and play All My Life's a Circle, and he'd ask the audience to sing along. And I was only like 12 years old at the time, and I thought the guy was nuts, but I kept listening. And the same guy, the Mad Hatter, he... 1978 now, this was just 4 years after Harry and Bill started World Hunger Year, now WhyHunger. this guy, the Mad Hatter, did a live broadcast from the Waterbury Green in Waterbury, Connecticut, on this amazing radio station, WWCO, and they were collecting non-perishable food items to help the local food pantry. They wanted everybody to come down. And I went to my mom and my Aunt Doris, and I said, come on, we got to go help. There's hungry people. And they gave me a big bag of cans of food, and we brought it down, and the Mad Hatter put me on the radio, and he said, wow, Mike, you brought 14 cans of food. And boy, he said, what a great job you did, Mike. You just helped some hungry people. What a difference you made. And boy, did that stick with me. That was a life-changing moment.
Mike, that's awesome. You never told me that.
At the age of 12, that stuck with me. And from that moment on, and then I got interested in Harry Chapin and his music and reading about the difference he made in his life. And I love his music, but the difference he made. Boy, to prove that one person really can make a difference. And Harry wasn't perfect. I don't put him on a pedestal. I don't put anybody on a pedestal. He had plenty of flaws, just like you, Bill, and just like you, Greg, and all of us, just like me. We all have plenty of flaws. But he proved that despite his flaws, he could make an unbelievable impact as an ordinary guy. And that's what really resonated with me. And, just like that Mad Hatter on that green in Waterbury, Connecticut in 1978, made a difference, and just like we talked today, whether it was Harry Belafonte and Ken Cragen or Bill Ayres, or all the folks that we had on the show.
Senator Pat, who was there with Harry at the beginning.
Yeah, just so many people over the course of the day, and I think about all the people just putting together this broadcast who made a difference. Larry Rifkin, our host from earlier today, what an incredible...
Right, and Larry, who, MIA right now, but...
Oh.
What an awesome job.
He put in such an amazing effort, and what a huge difference. I called the guy, and he worked at that radio station in Waterbury, Connecticut, Greg. You weren't on earlier, but talk about life being a circle. He was a DJ at that particular radio station. Now, if life isn't a circle,
I did not know that either.
It's incredible. And, all the people that helped behind the scenes for this broadcast today, Bill Ayres and Sue Leventhal at WhyHunger saved our butts so many times when we were having some challenges. And, Jim Lennon from Long Island Cares, the Harry Chapin Food Bank, and Jim Lennon Photography. He took so many of the amazing photos that you see in our Gifts for Giving, our store at Better Place to Be.
Yeah, those are cool, man. I wish I had a bank.
Yeah, he took so many great photos, and that sepia print of the typewriter that Harry typed the lyrics to Taxi on. That's in betterplacetobe.org. You've got to see that photo. And, but he donated his time and his talents, an ordinary guy with some cool talents, and he said, absolutely, I'm here to help. And Jason Dermer from the Harry Chapin Foundation in Asbury.
Oh, yeah, Jay. I missed Jay today. I'm sorry I heard something happen. Yeah. That's really sad, but, you got to be with family, and you got to take care of you
absolutely.
First before you come out the door.
Yeah, and his fiance, Melissa, she jumped in. We needed some artwork. She jumped in, and Jason jumped in and did some audio production. That Onwards and Upwards CD that we're selling, he's the one years ago that went through the archives, dug through all these recordings.
Oh, right, I remember the cassette pile. Oh, my God.
He went through all of that, and it put so many hours in because his talents are in audio. He's another guy that made a difference because that's made such a huge impact. You could go around the horn. There's so many people I'm forgetting, and I apologize to all of them. But, you two guys right here in this broadcast, Bill Hornung has been my friend for more than 20 years, 1997.
Yep.
Bill, we put together with so many other people that tribute to Harry at Eisenhower Park, the park he was scheduled to perform in the day he died, and with Tom Chapin and Jen Chapin, we got involved, and so many people came to that show, and it was incredible. And Greg, for you, 25 years with WhyHunger, for you to just, and Greg, just talk about the nonprofit that you're starting now.
So back in '87, which is 30 years now to the day, the Carnegie Hall concert that celebrated the awarding of the gold medal to Harry posthumously, which one of your earlier guests, the former senator, helped get the bill passed, which got the medal awarded. So the concert at Carnegie Hall
Senator
was December 7th of 1987. I didn't get to go to the show, but years later I was able to acquire the first pressing of the compact disc of that show. There was a lot of rights issues about getting that done. So I got the copy of the CD, and I held it very much. I cherish it to today. But along the course of our time together at World Hunger Year and WhyHunger, I've met almost every person who has played on that CD, and everyone except Oscar Brand and Bruce Springsteen and the Hooters have signed my copy of that CD.
Wow.
I had, I worked for the Smothers Brothers at a show, and they were generous enough to sign. Peter, Paul, and Mary is on it. Obviously the entire Chapin band and Tom and all the people that, other than the folks that I mentioned. But the real issue for that is that the Springsteen part was one of my favorite songs before Springsteen grabbed it at that show. And it's a song called Remember When the Music. And it's a real elongated version of Harry's song about self and putting what is in perspective in your past while in the rearview mirror and not losing sight of it. It isn't your present, and it isn't where you're going. And Springsteen did a very original rendition of it, as well as telling a story about how he met Harry. And one of the things that he reiterated was about Harry's persistence about getting him to do something. And Springsteen eventually says during his monologue, I wasn't into it as a thing, but Harry wanted me to do something, so I thought I should. And not being as bent to extremism as Harry, wasn't going to give that, every money away. Because Harry used to say, hey, I do one night for me and one night for the other guy. And so I've taken that one line, which I knew was Harry's, and that Springsteen reiterated 30 years ago, and decided that I would create something out of what I do as a technical professional in the entertainment industry. We work on backstage work, we do theater, we do radio, we do concerts, television, all kinds of entertainment need a backstage crew, which is what the three of us are here for this. Yep. And so I'm calling the yet to be initiated foundation one for the other guy. And it is going to be formed to encourage entertainment professionals in my craft and in other crafts to take a little bit of a closer look at their community and see where it is their professionalism, their thing that they make their money with, can be offered as a service pro bono to that next generation, that next artist, that next theater group that needs a helping hand. You get supplies from a show and it's an extra box that's going on the truck that nobody wants. Well, you give it to the local stagehand and you hope they're going to go to their local community theater and say, hey, we got this lighting gel and these rolls of half-used, industrial tape and some other supplies and batteries and things like that they would have to spend money on. And my idea is you get a guy who's in my position to donate his time, and it's in a pro bono fashion. It's much more local as a community organization, and it benefits some people who would not normally have those extras, and it would cost money that they don't have. Plus the time invested, which is that pro bono aspect of service, which I think we all know is the key component to what we do here and what we've always done in Harry's wake, because that was what he was. He was a force of nature, and every force of nature has a wake, and we're in it. And we're swept up behind him, and we are in that inertia that takes us along to this place that we're at today. And so what I'm encouraging my fellows, my professional fellows, to do is join the database. It doesn't mean you have to say yes every time. It doesn't mean you have to say yes ever. But join the database, become part of this national effort where we have professionals who can volunteer at a moment's notice or a week's notice or whatever, and that they can be called on periodically to lend a hand. How hard is it to become part of a community when you're already in one?
That's
Step
awesome.
outside the box. I made my money this week. I got my good job. I fed my family, and now I can give a day away. I don't have to go to work today because it's Saturday, or I'm free this week. Let me call up and see what they need. In that way, we do service to others. It doesn't cost us anything, and it's so enriching. It's so powerful to have that particular in our lives, and a lot of people are looking for that, and a lot of people don't have it. And yet looking for the avenue.
Yeah, and Bill, I'm going to steal the hosting duties because I want to turn the tables on you. I mean, Harry always talked about it, and Susan Miller talked about it, the people with the live hearts, the live eyes, and he got that from Pete Seeger. And, he was like, when you're involved with those people, it's like your life is so much richer. I mean, you didn't share. I mean, what was it about Harry that got you involved?
Well, just like everybody else, it's about, one person can make a difference, So and what I really liked what Greg was saying is it doesn't matter what your walk of life is. There's some thing you can provide or supply or get involved in that uses your talents that can all be used for a force of good, and that's how Mike and I got started, right? So I just happened to be working for a large computer company at the time who I had a budget that I could help throw a little money that way to help the concert go off. And but that led on to other things and other things that we did with food banks and all that, which I won't go into. But it was all about, hey, harnessing what we got, and it doesn't matter where you come from, what you do, all that. Every bit of it is important, and we've all experienced it. I mean, all the things that we've all been involved in one way, shape, or form. We've run into somebody that does some really off the wall thing, but man, do you need that little skill or that piece of knowledge that makes things really sing? So
yeah, and you think about some of the people we spoke to today, and Harry Belafonte. If you haven't seen the video, go on YouTube and type in "We Are the World" Michael Jackson. Type it in that order. "We Are the World" Michael Jackson. You will see Harry Belafonte at the 1986 American Music Awards get on stage in front of a national television audience and accept a special award for "We Are the World." And as soon as he accepted that award, he talked about how 5 years ago, in a cold theater in New York, he and Harry Chapin and Don McLean and Pete Seeger talked about the plight of the underclass and how Harry Chapin said he was going to dedicate the rest of his life to try to end hunger during his lifetime. And Mr. Belafonte said, you know what, Harry died in that tragic car accident and it was a cruel death. But before he died, he threw a pebble in a pond and it reached Bob Geldof and it reached Kenny Rogers and it reached, all of us. And he accepted that award for "We Are the World" on behalf of all those pebbles, as he said, thrown into all those ponds. And when we think about the people we talked about today, the guy who helped start the T-shirts for the Harry Chapin Run Against Hunger, what if he didn't do that? How many fewer people would have been helped? What if Bill Ayres and Harry Chapin didn't start WhyHunger, World Hunger Year, in 1975? How many fewer people? What if they didn't take a chance? What if they were afraid to fail and they didn't take a shot?
I wouldn't know you, Mike. If it wasn't for the fact that Harry and Bill got together, I would not know Mike Grayeb.
There you go. And so many people today, if you weren't able to join us throughout the day, all the videos are up here on the Facebook page. Go back and watch them because, Bill, time and again, there were so many inspiring examples of people stepping out. It was incredible.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, and it's one of those things that you could literally spend hours talking to any one of them, and we were trying to really just paint a very broad stroke of all the possibilities. And that's really what all these interviews represented in my mind was here is about as large of a range of possibilities as you can think of, all 30 some of them or however many we ended up doing. It came from so many different walks of life and things they cared about and all that. And it just, proves the theory that everybody can make a difference.
It's the people Harry wrote about. We had teachers, we had construction workers, union guys like Greg, all kinds of people from all walks of life, each with a demonstrated ability to make a difference. And that's really what Harry stood for. Before we go, we do want to acknowledge that John Wallace and Steve Chapin and Howard Fields were planning to join us today. A personal situation arose, and so they weren't able to do it, but they send their best regards to everybody. They really wanted to be here. Something unforeseeable came up, but we love them, and we send our best, and we'll have them on the next time. And something tells me this isn't going to be the last time we'll do this.
I'm thinking you hit the chord, Mike, and Bill, and Larry, too, because I know he's out there. And in just a quickie, I think that your guests, as you said, a broad base, of what America really is, what our country has brought us, and the ability for each one of them to check their ego at the door and come in and give a little taste and a little piece of themselves without asking for anything in return. And there's Harry incarnate in every single one of your guests. One of the things Bob Geldof said when he received his MBE, his knighthood from the Queen, because of his work with African Relief and because of his Live Aid and his Do They Know It's Christmas album, the Queen allowed him to speak. And what he said was, I would not have done this had it not been for Harry Chapin. So he named him. At the moment he was being honored for his personal work, he named Harry. Wow. And that in itself made me say, okay, wow, the big guy got it. Oh, I got to do something.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, and
absolutely.
And so many people, we, just a few other people I know that come to mind. We mentioned Larry Rifkin, but, his business partner, John, was a tremendous help from a technical standpoint.
Yep.
Sandy Chapin, Jason Chapin, Josh Chapin, John O. Chapin from Vermont, the whole Chapin family, Tom Chapin. I mean, we could go up and down the line. The place was crawling with Chapins, as always. And you can always count on not only the cheap seats, but also the Chapin. That's right. That's right. And also Peggy Strella from the Chapin office, Leslie Ramey from the Harry Chapin Foundation. We plan to bring her on to talk about the foundation. We had technical issues, but Leslie is unbelievable, and so is Peggy. You can always count on the cheap seats. It's so true.
Absolutely.
But everybody who touched this program in any way, you've made a difference. And everybody who was on this program, there were so many people we wanted to bring on the program. We jammed as many as we could, like a Harry Chapin show. We went into overtime. Everybody had to give up their workday, but we did it because we have a lot of love for who Harry was and what he stood for. It's a great picture, Greg, and because he inspired us to make a difference. I'd like each of you to just kind of give your kind of parting words here as we 30 years to the day after that show at Carnegie Hall when Harry was posthumously presented with that Congressional Gold Medal, the highest award a civilian in the U.S. can receive. 30 years to this day on this, what would have been his 75th birthday. Bill, your thoughts?
Well, I think if you're looking to do something, the easiest thing to start off with right now is there's 30 some videos up there on Facebook right now. Hopefully one of them touched you. One of those stories touched you, and share it. Share it with the world. It's kind of your version of throwing the pebble in the pond. And, it may just end up somewhere that will make a huge difference in somebody's life or moving something forward. And, I know that's what we all try and do, is wherever we have that opportunity is just to spread the story. Let's spread the story, because as Harry did so well, he told stories, and that's how people tend to relate. I think that's why they related to Harry, but we all relate to stories, right? It puts all these crazy things in context, right? You can talk abstract stuff all the time, but it's those very personal stories that make the difference. So, my biggest wish coming out of all this is that a lot of those things get shared, and somewhere, somehow, some bizarre way out in the, ionosphere there, that one video that you happen to share makes a big difference somewhere.
Greg?
Mike, it's your baby, and it now has legs, and we're going to teach it to walk, and we're going to teach it to run. And I'm hoping that everybody that was involved today comes back again and again, and that one day, as our good friend Carl Lukens has said many, many times after the quote that Harry knows that hunger in America is an obscenity, we want to put WhyHunger out of business. If we can do that in our lifetime, it's Harry's dream come true. I'm not stopping until I can't. And when I can't, then it better be done. Otherwise, there better be somebody to pick up the ball behind me, because I'm going to do it till I'm done.
There you go.
Well said. We're going to leave you now. All day today we were deciding, well, should we say it's the 75th birthday for Harry? And we decided to say no. It's Harry's 75th birthday in the present tense, because Harry lives on because of people like you, people like Bill and Greg and me and all of us, everybody who was here today, everybody who was here in spirit, everybody who's been touched by Harry and keeps the dreams alive. keeps Harry alive. And so that's why Harry lives on. That's why we say happy birthday, Harry. We were going to leave you with a picture of Harry, but instead, Harry would want us to leave you with a call to action. So we're going to leave you with, when in doubt, do something. And we're going to ask you to visit our website one more time, a special website we set up today, betterplacetobe.org. I'm going to put it up on the screen right now, and then we're going to dissolve to black. Thank you all so much for joining us, for everything you've done, and we will see you again until we all get together again. Take care, guys.
Thanks, Larry. Thanks, Bill. Thanks, Mike.
Take care.
Namaste.
I got you.
Bye-bye. And we're out. That was a good finish, guys. We went on and on, but we deserved it, right?